what does this look like to you? A lot of people have many theories as to what this structure is and what is it supposed to look like. Maybe it's a huge Christmas tree, or maybe it's a tribute to an ancient Indian architecture, or maybe it's just a huge shawarma. Well, right now we are in Hudson Yards, and I'm Ariel with Urbanist, and this is a show where I explore cities all around the world. And right now we are in the most expensive real estate development in the entire world. Over $19 billion to build all the buildings that surround us. And we're going to go right inside there into the vessel. Hello everyone. So, what do you think this looks like? Well, this is the vessel, which is right in the middle of the Hudson Yards neighborhood and also the project development. The Hudson Yards is named after the rail yards that are right underneath our feet right now. There are rail yards that are belonging to the Long Island Railroad and Amtrak. Now, as most rail yards are all around the world, they tend to be outdoors. Well, that's not the case anymore here. They used to be outdoors. A portion of them are, and we'll see them from the views of the vessel. But they're actually right now buried underground. And all these buildings around us are right on top of those rail yards that are still existing and still in use. Over $19 billion to build all these buildings in the new neighborhood of Hudson Yards. But today we're going to learn about the centerpiece of this neighborhood, which is the vessel. The vessel was built by Thomas Heatherwick, and I got myself a ticket to bring all of you today. Let's go inside. First, my coffee recommendation is Blue Bottle. They have a Blue Bottle inside the shops. So the shops is this 7-story complex of shops and restaurants and coffee shops, and Blue Bottle is right inside on the second floor, right through this door over here. I will be doing a 360 bonus video of the shops after this. If you want to become a supporter and get immediate access to it a month before it's posted publicly, you can do so by clicking that Become a Supporter button. So here it is. 16 stories tall, a staircase that leads to nowhere. What's the point of this vessel? Well, today we'll figure out the point of the vessel. We'll actually walk it. It'll be my first time walking with all of you through this public artwork, this park that goes into the skies above. And we'll see views of all Hudson Yards. Hello Jackie, hello Francis, hello Michelle, hello Gwen, hello Meso, hello Oud, hello Phil, hello Robert, hello Donna, hello Kay, Robert, and everyone. Let me know where you're watching from. Of course, as many of you know, I am a New Yorker, raised in Queens, and when I grew up here in the 1990s, this was utterly empty. It was filled with a bunch of train yards. No one came to this neighborhood unless if you're going to Jacob Javits Center, which I'll also show it to you from the views of the vessel. Now let me chug this coffee, throw it away, and then let's make the line to go into the vessel. Now the vessel is made out of 2,500 steps, 16 stories, and 80 landings. The landings are kind of the viewing decks for this staircase to nowhere. And right in front of us, we see it is mirrored as well, so we can see our reflection above. It's kind of a cool effect in order to make the space look much bigger. Now, the other cool thing about the vessel is that it encompasses a very small footprint, and it grows bigger as it goes up, which is a great use of public space. Now, we are located at 34th Street and 11th Avenue. It's 3 blocks away from Penn Station. A bunch of trains are available at Penn Station, namely the ACE line and the 123. And then a little bit further down on Herald Square are all the orange and yellow lines. So we're fairly close to a bunch of public transportation hubs. Though we're still 3 avenues away, which is huge in New York City terms. There's one train that goes directly to Hudson Yards, and that's the 7 train station, which I did a 360 tour. You can check it out in the videos tab on Urbanist. And that is the 7 train to 34th Street, Hudson Yards. However, this still is a new neighborhood, so it's still off the beaten path for many New Yorkers. But since it's right next door, Midtown Manhattan, tourists have been coming here in droves to see the vessel. So much so that the vessel requires tickets, and they're only allowing 700 people at the same time to visit this public artwork. Let's take a look inside.
Earliest time we're giving out is 3:20. 3:20, yeah. Just be careful with the bottle. We got together.
That's perfect.
Yes.
Enjoy right
Thank you.
Okay.
Right to your left, guys.
So now we're going up the ramp. This, despite being a bunch of staircases, is also wheelchair accessible because there are elevators that go all the way to the top of the vessel. Now we're walking around Hudson Yards. Here is the Shed. The Shed is this huge public performing arts space that will extend and become bigger as needed. Right here is the plaza of the Hudson Yards, which will continue to grow. And here we are in the vessel. So it kind of looks smaller from this perspective. Here's the elevator. Now it looks smaller because we are inside the middle, which is a very small footprint, and it grows larger as we go up, giving the illusion of it being smaller from the inside. Now this is 16 stories tall. And hello, Marie. Who gets to polish that thing? Not me. And this is like the kind of the selfie spot. So if you put your phone right in the middle, you get amazing views of right in the center of the vessel. That's kind of cool. So let's walk up the stairs and then maybe take the elevator down. Hello, Paula. Hello, Marie. Hello, Jackie. Who gets to polish this thing? You know what? That's a great question. Of course, the people working at Hudson Yards will be polishing this, and they have a pretty huge team. But because of lots of inclement weather that there is in New York City all the time, maybe summer or winter, it might get dusty and cloudy soon. So it'll be an impressive feat to keep it polished all the time. Now here we can see the rail yards. Those rail yards are still here. That area will still be developed, and that's phase 2 of the Hudson Yards. Now all around here there are going to be a bunch of little benches and tables and chairs. This is going to be a fully public space. It's going to be really nice. There's over 225 trees planted all around us. let's continue going up. Oh, wow. Wow, this is so cool. It's actually really cool inside here. So why did Thomas Heatherwick even build this? Why even built this in the middle of Hudson Yards? Two reasons. One reason is they wanted a centerpiece to rival the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree. Now, Rockefeller Center Christmas tree is popular and it's there only for Christmas time, so only about a month and 2 weeks. The second reason is that this is a plaza, and they didn't want to make this huge public artwork that would merely be something that you would see from afar and not really do anything with. So they decided to go for the best of both worlds. Both build this huge public artwork that kind of looks like a Christmas tree, at least that's the original intention, but also is a space that people can walk inside. Hence Thomas Heatherwick's plan. And Thomas Heatherwick is a British architect and designer, one of the most world-renowned architect and designers, with a team over 180 people, who is responsible for making the huge revamp of the London bus, which actually is a gorgeous bus. I enjoyed riding it when I was in London, and many other public artworks all around the world, including the bridge that rolls out, also in London. He was inspired by these steps in Rajasthan, India. Now, these steps in Rajasthan, India would go down deep into the ground, about 6 or 7 feet down, to reach the water. And they would be places where people would drink water or hang out in the hot summer months, because India gets very hot. It would go down underneath, and the temperatures would be about 3 to 5, maybe even more degrees colder. And he took this idea and inverted it on its head. Rather than make it go deep underground, make it go up into the skies above. So the steps are all interlocking. There's many different interlocking pieces. Each of the pieces were made in Italy. Of course, Italy, as we know from a tour that I did of the Oculus, are one of the very few areas in the world that they do these very extensive curved type of steel beams. And then they were transported here one by one, interlocking them together. If anyone has a great photo to add of the stairwells, go for it. Stepwells in Rajasthan, India. Let's keep going up. Let's actually make our way around. See if we can. Oh yeah, okay, so we can maneuver our way around it. Hello Liz, Leo, hello DP. Pricey neighborhood though. It is a very pricey neighborhood. This indeed neighborhood is basically built for the rich. Though the cool thing is, which I like, is open to the public, and it does act as a public space. So anyone can access these beautiful new public spaces, and if there's new public space, I wouldn't complain. I think the more public space, the better. Hello Kirsten from Germany. Hello Liz Leo from Tijuana. Bienvenidos. Hello Vaslav. Looks like a snake or reptilian to you. Isabel. Oh, interesting observation. It's a Wonkavator. Another interesting observation. It does kind of look something out of Willy Wonka. A good job for community service. Marilu, welcome. Emil from Croatia, welcome. It's really interesting construction, but in the future when phase 2 is built, there might not be much of a view. Ian, I will talk a little bit more about that as we go above, because there might be another view. Well, it'll be in another building. Now behind me is an impressive shed. Now you see this white part? attached to the glass building? Well, the shed is this huge part on the base of this larger skyscraper. But the cool thing is that this white part will be able to move further out and increase the space even more, allowing natural light to come in as well, which is going to be really cool. And also the windows are currently being covered, so it's not going to look like that. They'll be uncovered and they'll be glass that you can see through it. So it'll basically be public space indoors, which I think is really awesome. Can you see Big Bird from here? Ooh, I'm not sure what you're referring to. But we'll see what we can see as we go wriggle around Hudson Yards. Here's the elevator. Public spaces are great. Everyone has access to what the city has offered. I think that's definitely the good part of this development project. Construction is still going on, hence why you hear the drills. I'll show you where the construction is going on. Right down there is construction. Ooh, we are high now. Oh wow. If you are afraid of heights, this might trigger such fear of heights. Luckily, I'm not afraid of heights, so I can show it to you via video. Right here is the shops. Now the shops has a restaurant space and more private space up here. These floors are Neiman Marcus, and then the first four floors are over 100 shops and 20 restaurants. Hello Wilma, welcome. Nice to see you here. Hello Brent from Bahamas. Hello Beetle from Hungary. No walls, you can't get lost. Yeah, I don't think we'll be getting lost anytime soon through the vessel. Now the vessel has been getting another nickname. And that nickname is the shawarma. You ever had Middle Eastern beef or lamb that's skewered? Usually the bigger part is on the top and gets smaller as you go down, especially because they cut the meat throughout the day and they're cutting it smaller towards the bottom. A lot of people are calling this the shawarma. Chris, you helped build the vessel. Ooh, that's amazing. What role did you play in building the vessel?
I have lifelong.
Isabel, would I agree that there's a lot more construction happening than ever before in New York City? Yes, I think so. I think New York City is going through a massive redevelopment phase, more so than it did in the 90s. And if you were around the 80s, I assume there was probably even less. And this is precisely what is being redeveloped. Now I'm climbing a lot of steps. I'm going to need a good drink of water. Chris, that is amazing that you work for Permasteel, the Italian firm who built part of this vessel. That is amazing. That's so cool that you were a surveyor. Amazing work. I actually love how these panels are curved. Now, at first I was skeptical. Being down there, looking at staircases to nowhere, I thought to myself, What's the point? And I'm not generally a fan of walking stairs for fun. Like, I'll do it if necessary, but not for fun. However, coming up here and noticing that there's so many landings, and with so many landings, you can kind of just enjoy the views unbothered by a crowd of people as you would encounter, say, in the Empire State Building or top of the Rock during sunset. Here, you can kind of just chill out and go to each of the different landings, like I am in one right now, and see views of New York City. And the views right in front of us are very important. Now, of course, you don't need to climb the stairs. You can just take the elevator directly to the top and then take the elevator back down, which is nice. Now, this view is important because one, we have, and we're going to see a better view as we go up, 30 Hudson Yards. 30 Hudson Yards is now the third tallest skyscraper in the entire world. A little bit more about that a little bit later as we go further up. Right over here is going to be phase 2 of the Hudson Yards, also called Manhattan West. So technically phase 2 of the Hudson Yards will be this section over here. More skyscrapers are going up here, including a few residential towers. It'll mostly be residential this way. The vessel no longer will probably provide views of New Jersey, unfortunately, once that's completed around 2024. Over here is going to be Manhattan West development. Not technically associated with Hudson Yards, though a huge development project on its own right, which will be encompassed in the neighborhood of Hudson Yards. And this project development might contain the largest skyscraper in the Western Hemisphere. So, 30 Hudson Yards is already the third largest skyscraper in New York City. Skyscrapers after that are bigger are the residential tower right by Central Park, and the first one being the Freedom Tower. This one just bested the Empire State Building, only by a few meters actually. It'll also have the tallest outdoor observation deck in the world. However, there's plans to build a skyscraper even bigger. So Manhattan West, they hired Bergdorf Engels to design what is called the Spire. And the Spire was first called the Spire, then it was called the Spiral. Spiral would be the largest skyscraper in the Western Hemisphere, besting the Freedom Tower, besting the Shard in London, and becoming probably 5th or 6th largest in the world. And it's going to be right here, going to offer impressive views of New York City. And that's interesting to see how this used to be empty area of New York City is going to be completely transformed. Now, yes, it will be mostly very expensive residential housing, but I think the good plus side is that there'll be a lot of public space. What I fear is that some person will drop or throw things to the public in the streets. What's to keep them stopping from doing that? Good point. You know, as the case with almost everything in New York City, whether you go visit the Empire State Building or Top of the Rock, or go to any rooftop all around the city, you can't stop anyone from throwing something, though most people don't. It rarely ever happens, despite all the opportunities for people to do so. So sometimes it's good to have faith in humanity. Sorry if people are seeing this out of focus. Let me know if you're seeing it good. It might be the internet connection. Hopefully it'll get better the further we go up. So we only have 2 stories left. So that means I already covered 10 stories. And it feels like nothing just because we're kind of looking around. So let me show you all the buildings around. That's awesome. So this is the building that's connected to the Shed, the performing arts space. New condos being built right here. Not technically Hudson Yards development. More skyscrapers. Now all these buildings cost over $19 billion to develop just for phase 1 alone. And phase 2 might add to that price tag. Now, the vessel cost over $200 million. Initially, it was only supposed to be $70 million, according to Thomas Heatherwick's original estimates. But it has risen, as with any public work in New York City. Luckily, it was not headed by Santiago Calatrava, who doesn't go a few million above, but he tends to go a few billion above. And that is the architect of the Oculus. So 2 more stories left. And oh wow, now the space is opening up before our eyes. Lots of people taking selfies. And despite it now being a very popular tourist attraction, there's not that many people here. On a Saturday, it might be a little bit more packed, but the space is so big, contrary to how it looks like from afar, that you don't feel like you're in crowds here, which is nice. Because if you look, there's so many interlocking steps. Is this copper? No, it's not copper, it's steel, but it's meant to look copper colored. 80 landings, 2,500 steps. Also does look like a beehive or a honeycomb. You're right. Some people have been calling it the beehive. Though I think the shawarma is picking up steam. No pun intended. I'll show you over here. Views of New Jersey. New Jersey, if you're not aware with American geography, is another state aside from New York. The US has 50 states. New York, where we're standing in, New York City is part of the state of New York, and New Jersey is a different state right across the Hudson River. Looks like a good place to exercise. It really is. It really is. Here are the train yards, still in use by the Long Island Railroad and the Amtrak. Long Island Railroad goes to Long Island, Amtrak goes all around the US. This could be booked up to 2 weeks in advance, though. In order to get tickets, only took me 5 minutes today, Wednesday morning. I got here at 10:30 a.m. and they gave me tickets for the slot between 12:30 and 1 p.m. So actually, I came here around 11 a.m. So I only had to wait 1 hour to gain entrance to the vessel once I got my ticket. But to get the ticket, it only took me 10 minutes. See the public space down there. So here you can get a sense of how the train yards are still underneath Hudson Yards, and soon this will not be visible because of phase 2. Now there's 7 feet between the floor over here in the public space and the trains below. Will they be covered over? Yes, they will. This, by 2024, will be skyscrapers, mostly residential, towering above. So the vessel will not have unobstructed views of the Jersey skyline. So let's enjoy it right now. Take a good deep breath and take it all in. Now the High Line wraps all around here. That's the High Line. That is phase 3 of the High Line. However, there is going to be a phase 4 of the High Line. And phase 4 of the High Line is going to wrap around right behind the shed, so we might be able to get better views up here. Yes, you can get tickets the day of. I recommend come here in the weekday if you're coming here anytime soon. Actually, I think this might even grow in popularity as the High Line did. And now we are no longer covered. Oh, here we see the Empire State Building. So here we are no longer covered by roofs, and we right now can see unobstructed views of 30 Hudson Yards. The observation deck is on the other side of the building. Now tickets, as I mentioned, come here during the weekday. don't have to wait too much in line. They'll just give you a slotted time, and that slotted time might be an hour or an hour and a half after you get your ticket. However, you can easily spend an hour and a half visiting the shops, going around Hudson Yards, maybe going on the High Line. So yeah, I'm gonna show you over here. Let me know where you're watching from. And Phil says there's bad focus. Phil, try restarting your feed if you're seeing bad wonky footage. Try refreshing your page. It might be your internet connection, because not anyone else has been mentioning anything bad yet. Oh, ooh, okay. Did not fall. Okay, good. Alright, let's take one more look down. Oh, okay. Hey Ellen, I'm doing well. Thank you so much for tuning in live, and hello Phil from Dublin. Let me know if you already told me where you're watching from. Let me know. Have you ever seen any other Thomas Heatherwick's work? Have you been on the London bus? Have you done the Rolling Bridge also in London, or seen the Big Bang, I think, which is in Dublin? Let's go over here. Here we see the top of the shed. Now, this is a truly impressive structure because the shed is the first movable building in the world. There are stadiums with retractable roofs, but the actual structure itself moves and extends outward, and we can see the tracks that extends on through here, right up here. Now this will be a performing arts space. There'll be plays, there'll be dances, there'll be concerts. A bunch of things will be offered here, and they're aiming to make this the next Lincoln Center. So this might compete with Lincoln Center in terms of prestige for performing arts. And here we can see amazing views of Chelsea and the Meatpacking District a little bit further down. Look at that. Now a bunch of beautiful skyscrapers are being, not skyscrapers, but buildings are being built all around Chelsea. Wonderful architecture all along the High Line. Now speaking about the High Line, why do we have Hudson Yards? Well, Hudson Yards has been in development, people have proposed to build the top of here since the 1990s. However, a lot of those plans always fell through, mostly because no one really wanted to come out here. It's kind of a transit desert in New York City terms, at least in Manhattan terms at least. Still 3 avenues away from the subway back in the 1990s. Jacob Javits Center was a success, but wasn't that big of a success. Also, there was a whole lot of crime in Hell's Kitchen. Jacob Javits Center itself was ridden with corruption. So no one really managed to buy up this land and make something out of it. Until a tiny little elevated park, which everyone thought was going to fail, was built right looping around Chelsea all the way up to here to Jacob Javits. That little park is the High Line. It's the elevated park that runs all along the west side of New York City and has millions of people visiting it every single year. Now it's because of that park that boosted the development of Meatpacking District, Chelsea, and Hudson Yards. Because Chelsea and the Meatpacking District became the hottest place to build beautiful architectural buildings, especially for very high-end residential. That gave way to Hudson Yards, a bunch of empty land in Manhattan, which is hard to come by because Manhattan is a very crowded place, and also lots of very close to all the very popular tourist destinations, which is Midtown Manhattan and also right by Herald Square. see the steel beams here. I wonder why these ones are sticking out. You can see how hard and heavy this is. It's slightly slanted, so don't put a gimbal up here. And lots of handrails in case you need help with walking up the stairs. And there's handrails along the steps. It looks like Hogwarts from here with all these stairs. It kind of does. Yeah, you're right. It also does have Hogwarts vibes. And George, you miss living in Chelsea. Oh, Chelsea's such a gorgeous neighborhood, so I wouldn't blame you for missing living in Chelsea. And watching from San Antonio, Texas, was in New York City and walked the High Line, the yards last year, and was fascinated by the entire project. There are bathrooms in the shopping center. Yes, there are. In the shopping center, there's bathrooms, there's coffee, there's a public seat, there's a few places where you can sit down, and there's also a few restaurants. I'll be doing a 360 tour for supporters right after this. Is there an elevator? Yes, there is an elevator. This is handicap accessible. There is an elevator that goes directly to right there, this landing. So if you are in a wheelchair, you can easily access this landing. I'll show you this view right now. How much was admission? It's free. It's free and it will stay free. Because this is meant as a public space. It's not meant to be an attraction. You just need tickets because there's a lot of people here and they can only, according to probably fire code regulations, can only have up to 700 people here at the same time. Here's the line for the elevator. And if you're taking the elevator, you can come directly to this landing, which is actually nice. I wish they would put it at the other side. Kind of a shame that they didn't put it on this side. How tall is it? 16 stories tall, 150 feet tall. 16 stories and 150 feet. Doesn't feel like it if you're climbing the stairs. It felt like a pretty quick stair climb, especially as you're looking around and taking your time. Each of the beams are actually marked, so you see J3, A3, K2, etc., etc. Jackie, no bathroom up here. You have to come here, enjoy the views, then go back down into the shops for the bathroom. It's not like the Freedom Tower or the Empire State Building. Right down there we can see views of the dome, the Golden Dome, domed building, the New York Life Insurance Building that's right at Madison Square Park. And it is a very, very easy climb, I think so.
I know.
So the line for the elevator is not that long, luckily. Here we are. So yeah, it's different frame scenes. I think that's another cool part about the vessel. There should be a nice shiny porta potty. Jackie said that to Hudson Yards. You have an email on their website. I think they might appreciate that recommendation. Are the benches? No. So that's one thing I wish that they had. It would be nice if they had benches on these two top floors. I guess because they might not want people to linger around too much. And that might change, as with any public space, as the High Line or Bryant Park. They do evolve and they do change as time goes by. So if this continues getting more and more packed with people, they might keep the benches away because they don't want people to linger. However, it seems like you can sit on the steps. No one's really giving anyone any issues about sitting on the steps, which is nice. So you see a few kids sitting there, and so it seems like it's okay to sit on the steps. And I think they might have done that on purpose. Now, another thing about the staircases, it feels like an easy climb because the staircases are very steep down there. So the first few floors will be a pretty tough climb. But then the staircases get shallower and shallower and shallower, almost imperceptibly so. So you might think, oh, this is easy by the time you get up here. And that's because they're playing a very subtle illusion for all of you. And Thomas Heatherwick's company did that on purpose. So we can see very shallow staircases right over here. There's my shadow. What are the opening hours? I don't know off the top of my head. They do open at 10 a.m. You can get yourself a 10 a.m. ticket probably coming here at 9 a.m. And I think they're open till 7 or 8, but you can double check their website. And that might change during the summertime, so that might be actually extended. Here we can see the public plaza that they have on the top. Now, I know this one's for the restaurant. There's one restaurant here. I think there's two restaurants with amazing views of the vessel. Ariel, those steel rod on top are lighting rods. Oh, that's interesting. George, oh, that's a very interesting fact. Thank you for letting us know. And Denise, beautiful. Our office will be moving there in 2 years. Ooh, cool. Which building, if I may ask? 30 Hudson Yards seems to be the main office building right here. And again, third tallest tower in New York City. It doesn't look that tall, and I think the main reason for that is unlike the other tall towers in New York City, this one's fatter. And it also has some dimension to it because there's like a section that sticks out a little bit more. So it gives the illusion of being a shorter tower, but it's actually the third tallest. It's taller than Empire State Building. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask, but you can see how shallow here they are. And I'll be going back down and walking around Hudson Yards in a bit. So here, as George, thank you for letting us know, this is a lightning rod. So if you're here in the rain, do not touch this. I'm not sure if it'll be open during rainy days. Again, more views of Hell's Kitchen, which is mostly down here. This will be the Manhattan West development. I think they're spending up to $7 billion on Manhattan West. And Hudson Yards might actually extend a little bit further down all the way to 41st Street. So right around there, right around, boom, there, will be 41st Street. It will be the extension of Hudson Yards. Hudson Yards will extend from the Hudson River, which is 12th Avenue, and the West Side Highway, all the way to 8th Avenue, which is right by Penn Station. And the new Penn Station will be part of the Hudson Yards development. So we'll be having a new Penn Station probably by next year. Crossing fingers. And it looks like Brave New World. The vessel only opened up about a month ago to the public. More construction going down there, and it's great because this is all going to be public space. So you're going to have more tables and chairs. We'll talk about that as we go down. Let's go back down. So the Hudson Yards development, yes, it does go down here. We'll be at the Spiral at Hudson Boulevard. Yes, around this area. I'm not entirely sure exactly what's the lot, but it'll be around this general area. Will be the Spiral. Will be the tallest skyscraper in the Western Hemisphere. And let's go back down. Are you excited to go back down? Let's go back down. As the old proverb goes, it's a lot easier to go down than it is to go up. I just made that up, by the way. It's an old Queen's proverb. So you can look back at the video if you want to see the climb back again. Replays are always available after this. But I'm going to make a quick descent. Time me right now. Let's see if we can get the descent. See if we can get down. 1 minute, I think, is reasonable. 1 minute? All right, time me, everyone. Start it right now. Let's go. 1 minute. 1 minute. Is there heat reading for this? So no, they designed these steps and the structure itself to not retain heat nor cold. Excuse me. So no heat. I don't feel any heat up there, and also when I touched the lightning rod, didn't feel any heat from it either. And it's great technology. I wonder what is the specific technology that they use to not retain heat, if anyone knows. Ooh, so this is pure steel right here, made in Italy. And here we can see the mirrored panels, copper color. Looks like a sci-fi machine from the Marvel movies. So that's the other theory. It's not only a huge copper-colored Christmas tree. It's not only a giant shawarma or a pastor if you're from Latin America, but it might be a portal to another dimension. I'm just joking. But it does kind of look like that from the Marvel movies. Especially when you look at that big blue light down there. That does look ominous. It looks like you can go up to another universe. Yeah, you can choose. You can climb up the stairs any which way you want to. There's handrails, as I mentioned, all around. And yeah, $200 million were spent here. Well, that is the name of the game. New York City does need money to compete in tourism. If it wants to stay ahead of cities like Paris and London, and also Bangkok, which is competing very heavily now in tourism. So I think that's one of the main reasons why they decided to spend that money. Because $200 million spent here can bring in billions for New York City in terms of tourism, including all the entire development of the High Line. Also, having a very pretty landmark is great for high-end real estate. It can also bring a lot more money towards real estate development. And now we're almost down. So as you can see, the staircases a lot thicker, a lot taller, steeper, I mean. I agree. I do hope that they do fix the subways. And here, everyone's standing to be transported to another dimension via the blue light. That's what happens in every single Marvel movie. It's kind of cool also how they designed this. You can see that there's these ridges. I assume that this is great for water runoff. And one more look from inside. And Ian, you say the High Line was probably the best regeneration project in decades. Yes, I agree.
Hello everyone, you may exit in letter K. Letter K is the exit. Exit is the letter K. That's the way to go.
All right, say goodbye to the vessel. Let's go back out and explore Hudson Yards. Talk a little bit about trees, high-tech trees. Talk a little bit about public spaces. And show you a little bit more of the shed. Let's go this way. That blue light is just basically a ring of light for people to take selfies. So they put their cell phone right at the base, and they can take a selfie with the vessel. Now here it's still barren, so there's not that much public space yet, but there will be chairs and tables, as I mentioned. Now the really cool thing is these trees. And Ian, I think you make a great point. So Highline brought a whole lot of money to New York City. Thing is, these decisions are not purely vanity plays. They might look like it, but if you look at the greater historical context, projects like the Empire State Building, Rockefeller Center have done massive work in bringing New York City lots of tourism and business. Now, when Rockefeller Center was built during the Great Depression, it seemed kind of pointless. However, now it's one of the major tourist spots in New York City. Now, tourism might seem overrated, but when you look at the numbers, tourism brings a whole lot of money, especially nowadays when there's a lot cheaper airfare between countries and lots of ease of travel, and also huge amounts of middle class developing in Africa, China, and India. That's a whole lot of money. That's billions and billions, tens of billions of dollars to be made if you are the top tourist destination in the world. Right now, the top tourist destination in the world is Paris. Number 2 is Bangkok. And number 3 is New York. However, New York is not comfortably in number 3 because there are cities like London competing for its favor. And also New York City does not want to be content at number 3. They want to get to number 1. That's where works like the Vessel come into play. That's where developments like the High Line come into play. Now, about these trees. It's 225 trees all around the Hudson Yards. However, we're right above train yards. How do they grow trees right above a train yard? It's a very interesting system. Each of these trees have roots that are specifically grown to funnel directly 7 feet below ground where they have a water basin, access to a water basin. And they did that for these trees to be able to grow to full length, but also not have roots growing all around the space. So it's a very high-tech way of growing trees. It's kind of impressive that they are able to grow trees basically a space that is not actual Earth at all. And it goes to show what technology can be used to grow trees on top of skyscrapers in the near future. So Bangkok is number 2 tourist destination in the world for various reasons. Its close proximity to China, and China now has the largest middle class in the entire world, bigger than the population of the US. So it gives you a big perspective, as we can see women who are, I would assume, Chinese. I can tell from the dress. There's a lot of Chinese tourists are coming here, but since Bangkok is much closer, they're going more to Bangkok. Also, it's close proximity to many other developed countries, such as Japan, India, and Africa, which has not yet become a huge middle class yet, but also Australia. Also, Bangkok is way cheaper to visit than Paris or New York. So I think that's why people are also going there. So there's various reasons, and that's why a city like New York is taking their tourist development very seriously. Now this is actually elevated, and we can go down through here and get a better view of the vessel and the shed. And of course that Murray Head Classic, One Night in Bangkok. Ooh, I never heard that song. And hello Natasha, good afternoon. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hello Veronica from Utah. And it's art, you don't have to understand it. I think that's another factor, but when it comes to spending that much amount of money, I think whoever's putting in that money wants to understand the art. And here it is. The purpose of the blue light is just to ring a light. I assume they chose blue so it can contrast better with the sky, so you can take a better photo. Though that's an educated guess. I'm not 100% sure. If anyone knows for sure, let us know. Here's the shed. The shed is not open yet. They'll be open, I think, next month, with performances starting next month as well. Today Tix actually is already selling tickets. So if you want to check out that app to be one of the first people to go into this new performing arts center, that's a great. And here is 12th Avenue. 12th Avenue is definitely an avenue no one comes to, though that might change significantly once the Hudson Yards is fully built. But let's actually get ourselves a good view. Hello Trisha from the UK, welcome. So here is 12th Avenue, and as you can see, there's basically nothing. Now 12th Avenue traditionally was a bunch of car dealerships, which are mostly still down there around 50th Street. Jacob Javits Center is right over there, also going through a massive redevelopment and renovation. There's a huge green lawn on top of Jacob Javits Center now. And Kay, that blue light is from Doctor Who. Ooh, yeah. That's a great reference. Also, the vessel is bigger on the inside. It technically is. Right here is the High Line. And there's an entrance to the High Line right down there. So you can easily access the High Line from Hudson Yards, which I really recommend. Now let's take a little bit more of a walk through the Hudson Yards. So what do you think? Is that a beehive? A shawarma? Is it a Christmas tree? What's your opinion? Beehive, shawarma, or Christmas tree? Would you prefer to call this the vessel or the shawarma? Let us know. Okay, I've been doing a lot of talking. So, because I've been doing a lot of talking, I'm going to stand here and drink a little bit of water. And that was a great workout. So also, if you want to work out, go to the vessel and climb those steps. Now, as I mentioned, I was skeptical before, but I kind of liked it. It was fun. It was actually fun going up there. That was the first time I've ever had fun climbing stairs to nowhere. So I guess it's worth it, especially since it's free and the waiting time is very little. So I would say it's worth it. Definitely come over here. It's only a few blocks away from Herald Square, which you can learn about the owls of Herald Square in one of my videos. Click on the videos tab and enjoy nice views of this area of Manhattan, which wasn't really that popular until basically a month ago. The High Line made it popular about like 3 years ago. But before then, almost no one came to this area, unless if you were going to a conference like New York Comic Con or the boat show or the car show that happens at Jacob Javits. And I love the gleaming copper. I agree. That copper, I think, is a really cool touch because we're surrounded by basically glass buildings that have a bluish color because they reflect the color of the sky. So it's nice to have a little bit of contrast with that. Also, yeah, it's nice to have that contrast, which is nice. I can't wait to see how the windows are going to look like for the shed. That's going to be really interesting. What about the name The Armor? Enjoy your tour. Thank you so much. The Armor. No one has called it that yet, though why do you associate it with the armor? Let us know. Wonder how time would treat it. Yeah, that is another great concern, George. because I'm not entirely sure. It started getting dusty and cloudy. You're starting to see how a little bit dirty it is right up there, especially with harsh weather during the winter time. I'm not sure how time will treat it. Now, speaking of how time will treat it, Thomas Heatherwick's projects, though they are beautiful and unique, as the vessel is, very unique, they're not without controversy. So, speaking of how this will age, two of Thomas Heatherwick's projects have not aged well. One of them is the Rolling Bridge that is, I think, in the Isle of Dogs in London. That rolling bridge is currently closed. I think that was due to malfunction. The second project is his redevelopment of the London buses. I found them absolutely beautiful. I went there during wintertime. It was a wonderful, comfortable ride. However, those buses are breaking down. Apparently the battery that power the buses aren't running up to par, and also they're getting extremely hot during the summertime. Might be because the way the air is ventilated through it is not so good. So unfortunately, a lot of those buses are needing heavy repairs. So Thomas Heatherwick, though he makes very interesting things and is hired a whole lot, still questionable in terms of how long his things last. But let's see how this lasts. Also, public artworks are always kind of evolving in New York City. As the Rockefeller Center continues to grow, so will the vessel continue to add features, maybe benches, maybe lights, who knows. Now here's the cool thing. Now we saw the top of the tracks of the shed. Here we can see the wheels on the bottom, and they're huge. Look at that. So these wheels will run on that track. And now it's enclosed formation, but it will open up and provide a new indoor space that has a bunch of light coming through. How do you get to the High Line? It's right down there. Exit the vessel, go to 12th Avenue, and you can walk on the staircases right into the High Line. There's also an entrance through the Hudson Yards around this way. And there'll be a secondary entrance built soon. I think that'll probably be completed by next year. And also you can go to Jacob Javits Center, and you can go to the very beginning of the High Line that way. So there's 3 distinct entrances and soon to be 4. So this is not actual copper, it's steel, so it won't rust and turn green. A lot of people are also calling this the Eiffel Tower of New York City, because it's also a metal structure. Though I think the Eiffel Tower is much taller. If anyone knows exactly how tall the Eiffel Tower is, let us know. Is it taller than 150 feet? I don't know. The armor named because it looks protective and the glass in the inner building. It does, yeah, it does kind of look protective armor. Looks like an armored beehive. If there was a superhero that had bees hives that he used to attack his enemies, he would have this type of beehive. Armored plated beehive. How do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice. That's an old New York proverb. And riddle. Lots of people taking selfies. People sitting here taking photos from below. If you're a supporter, stay tuned for extra 360 tour of the shops. And the line, the entrance is right through here. And the line to get tickets is right here. As you can see, there isn't a line right now, so you can get tickets immediately, probably for 4 p.m. around there. And let me show you the entrance to the subway. If you have any last remaining questions, feel free to ask. And you might think this is full now. That might change because the High Line was popular when it first opened, though they thought that was going to be the peak of its of people visiting it. However, that wasn't the case. The High Line grew and grew and grew and grew in popularity, with tens of millions of people visiting it annually. It's now the most visited park in the entire world, more than Central Park. So the High Line grew way more beyond expectations, and Hudson Yards might do that as well, since its proximity to the High Line. Hello, Arlinda. How do you get to the High Line? I mentioned before, and I'll show you how to get to Hudson Yards via subway. And I'll show you a little bit better view of the vessel and the Hudson Yards project development. So that's what we climbed earlier, and here is 30 Hudson Yards from below. And more skyscrapers to come over here. There's also a WeWork, I think, right over here. So if you're looking for office space. Huge public plaza right next to the entrance for the subway. Now this subway is the 34th Street Hudson Yards subway stop on the 7 train line. 7 train is actually awesome because you can take this all the way to my home neighborhood of Jackson Heights. So you can go from glitzy Manhattan to one of the most diverse areas in the entire world, directly into Jackson Heights, Queens, and traverse all the way to Main Street, Queens, which is the largest Chinatown, all by riding the 7 train line. And Jacob Javits Center right over here. Thank you everyone so much for watching this tour of the vessel and the main public grounds of the Hudson Yards. If you want to see an extended 360 tour of the shops, you can become a supporter. Otherwise, it'll be posted publicly for everyone to see in a month from now. And also, supporters get access to weekly map guides, which I posted one starting last week. There'll be one every single Friday. Map guides to give you a better view of the best things to do in Manhattan, from the best coffee shops to best restaurants to neighborhood guides, etc. Everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. Keep being awesome and always keep on exploring. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.